China has a 5,000-year-old civilization which has always been continuous and uninterrupted. In 2021, its entire population, more than 1.4 billion people, began to enjoy a moderately prosperous society, of whom 98.99 million people were raised out of absolute poverty. How did this miracle take place? The Nujiang River is located on the border of southwestern China. As night falls, the lights go on, blinking into life on both sides of the river. At 7 p.m. every evening, there's bustling activity with singing and dancing in the Fugong County town in the Nujiang River Grand Canyon. But 10 years ago, the evenings here were almost silent. Satellites have recorded the changes that have taken place here during the past 10 years. This is Tuoping village in November 2011. Only some scattered houses and earth roads can be seen. In November 2021, the village had been transformed into something like this. Now let's look at it from a different perspective. Using a 3D model generated by aerial photography and scanning technology, we can see continued changes that have happened bit by bit in this small mountain village. Construction of these 6-story residential buildings began in October 2017. 1 year later, 598 of its residents received their front door keys. Not far from here, a futsal field has ignited children's enthusiasm for sport. Before long, a kindergarten was built, and 62 children have been enrolled to receive preschool education. A small globe enables the children to understand the wider world. Here, children study, learn to sing and dance, and begin a broad liberal arts education. Almost at the same time as the kindergarten was completed, this 4G base station was also built, which put this small mountain village in contact with the world. Then an even larger change took place over the Nujiang River. In 2019, Tuoping Bridge was officially opened to traffic. For generations, villagers could only cross the river using a zip line. 58-year-old farmer Luo Dejun has recently taken a part-time job in his spare time, delivering parcels. Going along a country road at a few tens of kilometers per hour is an experience Luo has never had before. His old home was in the Gaoligong Mountains, and a round trip out would take him a whole day. Generations of Nujiang people had been separated from the outside world by mountains, rivers, and difficult transportation. 4 years ago, thanks to the local poverty alleviation and relocation project, Luo's family of 7 finally moved out of their leaky thatched cottage, fulfilling their lifelong dream of leaving the remote mountains and shaking off poverty. What was the relocation like? Based on poverty alleviation and relocation big data, we've restored all the relocation routes in a 3D map. Some of these old villages on the hillsides were at an altitude of 1,600 meters, some even as high as 2,500 meters. In 2018, along relocation routes like these, villagers went down the mountains, settled down, and started brand new lives alongside the Nujiang River. Across the whole county, large and small relocation sites spread along the Nujiang. As many as 50 relocation routes were set up in the 7 local towns and villages. Statistics show that 22,000 new residents moved into 15 relocation sites, accounting for a fifth of the county's total population. In the past 10 years, an unprecedented project has been implemented in central and western China's high mountains, barren deserts, and extremely cold areas. This is Andor Village, Qinghai Province. New residential buildings have been built on 100 hectares of land. 48 local poverty-stricken villages have been relocated here. This is Bai Yanglin relocation site in Bijie, Guizhou Province. More than 7,000 apartments have grown out of nothing, and 29,000 people have moved into their new homes. And this is Jiaozhou County, Sichuan Province. 18,000 poverty-stricken people have moved down the mountains and into the county town. Around China, a total of 35,000 villages and towns have been built for resettlement, and more than 9.6 million poverty-stricken people have been relocated. It's like relocating a medium-sized country. This war on poverty was well targeted, carefully arranged, and accurately implemented. In Beijing's National Poverty Alleviation Development Database, rows of cabinets store data on the new homes. This is the first time in the history of China's poverty alleviation cause that a database has been established for poverty-stricken households and individuals. Since 2014, 22.8 billion items of information about almost 90 million poverty-stricken people have been recorded in the database. Li Wenbin, who suffered from meningioma, was one of them.
他们说这种病很难治这样子，我以为是永远都站不起来啊。
Li Wenbin's misfortune was taken seriously by local cadres who knocked on the doors of every poor household. They recorded his miserable situation and sent the information to the database in Beijing, 2,000 kilometers away. Together with files on numerous other households impoverished by illness, Li Wenbin's information was accurately forwarded to the National Health Commission. Medical personnel selected from 1,007 tertiary city hospitals made 118,000 trips to 1,172 hospitals in poverty-stricken counties. With their help, those counties set up 3,700 new specialist clinics and performed 1.9 million operations. In 2017, a medical team from Guangdong Province arrived to help Xilin County. They found Li Wenbin when sifting through data on illness-impoverished households and performed spinal surgery on him. A new life began for Li Wenbin as he began to recover. In the past decade, 98.99 million rural residents living below the current poverty line have all been lifted out of poverty and now live better lives, together with countless people in other places of the country. No one, absolutely no one, is left behind on the road to a more beautiful life. Sichuan Mountain stands 4,700 meters above sea level and receives snowfall for more than 6 months of the year. The passes here are covered with snow almost all year round. We managed to visualize this mountain with the help of satellite remote sensing technology and geographical data. In a deep valley some distance from here, the Snow Pioneer, the first hard rock tunnel boring machine designed and made in China, has been in operation for a year. This 245-meter-long pangolin is tunneling inside the mountain. A tough challenge lies ahead.
这边水越来越大，上面的空腔很大，这边一直在掉块。
干了挺多隧道了，这应该是比较难的一个。花岗岩地层岩石确实现在目前很硬很硬。
This is one of the most challenging geoengineering projects on Earth. In recent years, more and more new and advanced tunnel boring machineries have been built to deal with challenging geological scenarios. The Snow Pioneer hard rock tunnel boring machine is one of them. It was made specifically for the construction of this tunnel. Together with another tunnel boring machine, it spent nearly 7 years digging out a 37.9-kilometer-long railway tunnel. And this tunnel only accounts for about 2% of this railway. There are 21 mountains higher than 4,000 meters, and 14 rivers along the rail route. Snow Pioneer and its partners excavated 42 tunnels, each more than 10 kilometers in length. 93 out of every 100 kilometers of the railway are made up of bridges and tunnels. Every minute, the gateway of the intelligent Internet of Things on Snow Pioneer sends data about its performance back to the data center hundreds of kilometers away. The data platform established by China Railway Engineering Equipment Group clearly shows the work done by large tunneling machines in the past 10 years. Tunnel locations are marked on the map. The Hengduan Mountains, Lianchen Tangla Mountains and Qilian Mountains, where the engineering equipment has been used, were considered to be insurmountable in the past. In the past decade, the Chinese people, with the help of this made-in-China engineering equipment, have overcome one challenge after another. They also managed to tunnel through the Tian Shan Mountains, Kunlun Mountains and Qinling Mountains. More than 20,000 kilometers of tunnels have been excavated, 60% of them in the middle and western parts of the country. All the efforts have been for one thing: to fill in the gaps. In the past decade, railways have extended farther into the much less developed central and western parts of China. By the end of 2021, the length of these railway lines totaled 60,000 kilometers in western China, accounting for 40% of the country's total. The highway network has also expanded. There is now an average of over 55 kilometers of highway for every 100 square kilometers of land. Highways leading to villages have exceeded a total length of 4.4 million kilometers. Over 50,000 villages now have access to buses. These are the changes captured by satellites from space. Guizhou is known for its karst landforms. A dense highway network with nearly 20,000 bridges has equipped the mountainous province with convenient communications usually found on flatter land. In 1.5 years, a vitally important building rose out of the ground at the edge of the Tarim Basin. This is Yutian Railway Station along the Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway, a more than 2,000-kilometer-long loop around the Taklamakan Desert, known as the Sea of Death. The moving sand in the desert is no longer an obstacle to traffic. As well as its road network, over the past decade, China has also worked hard to improve infrastructure. In mountainous Guyuan in Ningxia, 6 pumping stations raise water from the reservoir in Jingyuan County to a height of over 600 meters, almost equivalent to that of a 200-story building, supplying drinking water for a village of over 700 people 230 kilometers away. In the past decade, 520,000 centralized water supply projects have been completed around China. As their locations are marked on the map, we see an expanse like a sea forming. When comparing it with a Chinese population distribution map, we find that they are basically consistent with each other.
原来喝的是含氟高的井水，牙是黄的，一说话一笑，你就是苦子人的。现在好了，我们喝的是南水北调的南水，小孩们牙都白了，原来叫苦水营，现在变成甜水营了。
From 2016 to 2020, 9.75 million people bade farewell to water with excessive levels of fluoride, and 1.2 million said goodbye to brackish water. On the snow-capped plateau, electrical engineering technicians traversed high mountains and uninhabited areas and crossed the Jinsha River 5 times to set up over 2,700 electrical tower bases and to lay more than 1,500 kilometers of cables in locations more than 3,000 meters above sea level, integrating the once isolated power grid of Chengdu into the state grid. Now there are no isolated power grids in Tibet. With the speeding up of infrastructure construction, the development gaps between different regions are narrowing. This becomes clearer at night. The remote sensing data analysis system run by the Chinese Academy of Sciences shows the changes. This is what Xinjiang was like in 2013, and this is what it is like in 2022. This is what Yunnan was like in 2013, and this is today's Yunnan. This is Guangxi 10 years ago, and this is what it is like now. The areas with nighttime lighting have increased by over 80% in these places. They've become brighter, and the once isolated dots have been connected. In Western China, the areas with nighttime lighting and the total amount of nighttime light has risen by almost 50%. The map is a reminder of past efforts and also a footnote to a brighter future. In today's China, changes are taking place everywhere. Let's capture the changes on the Earth's surface from another angle. Remote sensing satellites have been observing the changes in vegetation in the Yellow River Basin for 10 consecutive years. After synthesizing the data, researchers have obtained an image like this. The boundary line between this green meadow and the yellow desert is called the Yellow River Green Line. In the past 10 years, the green has pushed forward and the desert has gradually retreated. The green line has now moved 150 kilometers away from its original location. Using this technology, we can see some huge green disks in a green line area in the middle reaches of the Yellow River. 400 meters in diameter, these green disks are ecological cattle farms. This is the Ulanbu Desert, one of the main sources of silt in the Yellow River.
我们这地方沙漠刮风不是特别厉害吗？一场风就把你这苗子都刮得啥都没了。
Since 2013, the country has speeded up desertification control and prevention in its desert areas, and Uhantu has started to plant the saxaul.
哎呀，我说，哎，这好呀，又能固沙，还有经济来源，是不行的，我就得。
Now the saxaul, the arbor and the sweet veg form a forest to resist wind and consolidates the soil, locking out the overwhelming sand from the Ulanbu Desert and enabling grass to grow freely.
我们在沙漠里面种草养牛，同时呢，将牛粪发酵以后用来改良土壤，形成了一个有机的闭环体系，既防沙治沙，同时呢又产生了生态效益。
In the past decade, more than 300 square kilometers of the Ulanbu Desert has been covered with a green new look. The ever-growing ecological green line locks up more water and soil in the Yellow River Basin, each year reducing an average of 300 to 500 million tons of silt. The total amount in the past decade is enough to fill about 26,000 water cubes, China's national aquatic center. As the green color expands along the Yellow River, what has the Yangtze, another mother river of the Chinese people, gone through over the past 10 years? This is the Yangtze's main estuary near Shanghai in June 2013. Remote sensing monitoring indicates its water quality. The yellower it is, the worse the pollution is. Seen from the same angle on the same day in 2021, the water quality is obviously better. Using data from the Ministry of Ecology and Environment, we analyzed the chemical oxygen demands of the Yangtze's main pollutants and the total volume of discharged ammonia nitrogen and obtained a curve like this. In 2015, it started to drop rapidly, and the current volume is only about 10% that of 10 years ago. What is the reason for this? Using the State Administration for Market Regulation's statistics, we've selected 210,000 pieces of registration information for chemical plants from 36 cities in the Yangtze River Basin over the past 10 years. By analysing the data and collecting the geographic information for every plant, we've created this map, where each dot represents a plant. We've examined cities with more centralised distribution of plants like this. It turns out that there are fewer chemical plants within 3 kilometres of the riverbank. A quarter of the factories have been demolished around the whole of the Yangtze River Basin in the past 10 years. We've also digitised another set of enterprise statistics onto the map, but this time the number of another kind of plant almost doubled. Each dot here represents a sewage treatment plant. Wuhu in Anhui province has seen the biggest change, with the number of its sewage treatment plants increasing from 3 to 8. These growing lines are sewage pipes in Wuhu, with a total length of 1,196 kilometres, 2.6 times that of 10 years ago, and they now cover all the city's urban areas. Changes like these are taking place in 36 cities along the Yangtze River. With both increases and decreases, the river's high-quality water section increased from 86.2% in 2012 to 97.1% in 2021, basically achieving good water quality in the entire basin. The revitalized Mother River is full of life. China is evidently beginning to re-examine its relationship with Mother Nature. It has learned to draw an eco-red line to return what once belonged to nature to nature. In the past decade, the country has set up 5 national parks, including the Giant Panda National Park, the Three River Source National Park, and the Northeast China Tiger and Leopard National Park, 14 global geoparks, and a first batch of 39 national grassland natural parks. 9,195 natural areas have been protected by the Eco-Red Line. Living in harmony with nature involves not only control of excessive exploitation, but also active protection. In Lishui, Zhejiang Province, the Ojiang River winds through mountains, hills, terraced fields and cities before pouring out into the East China Sea. Great changes have been noted through years of observation of the local ecosystem using satellites. This is Xiayang Village in Yunhe County in June 2012. The village was surrounded by terraced fields, but if you look closer you'll see overgrown weeds, collapsed bulks and uncultivated terraced fields. These are the same terraced fields in June 2022. There were no weeds. With clear bulks, the terraced fields were full of life. A 3D model created with drone photos reveals the secrets of how these terraced fields managed to spring back to life. After running through more than 80 carefully maintained canals, spring water flows in the terraced fields. Fishes, spiral shells and worms grow in the fields. The fish droppings act as manure and fertilize the land. Terraces are like a natural purifier. The water that flows through them remains clear. It is this natural circulation that has brought the terraced fields back to life.
用自然的方法恢复自然生态，比如这个田间小路，以前我们喜欢用水泥，现在呢，我们用石头砌，中间留出缝隙，填上泥土，让生物喘息。
In the past decade, the ecological scars on the land of China have been healed one after another. Yanchang in Jiangsu province used to have large areas of saline alkali land, but now hundreds of hectares of green defense have been built here. Due to desertification, Qinghai Lake once split up, creating many small lakes around the big one. But the local ecosystem has been improving since 2012. Now the small lakes have merged with the big lake, the same as they were 40 years ago. In the past decade, China has achieved the highest growth rate in forest resources, and the country now has the largest area of man-made forests in the world. Within 10 years, 128,000 species have been discovered and added to the Catalogue of Life China, nearly double the figure in 2011. More than 300 endangered species of wild animals and plants are recovering. The population of pandas and Tibetan antelopes has increased remarkably. They've been reclassified from endangered animals to vulnerable ones. The number of crested ibises, known as the Oriental gem, now exceeds 5,000. Milu deer once disappeared in the wild, but now their population has climbed to more than 8,000. To respect, follow and protect nature is the only way towards a better future. In the past decade, China's ecological environment has continued to change for the better. At the same time, an environment conducive to innovation and development is unleashing unprecedented potential and vitality. This is Qianhai in 2012. Within 10 years, buildings carrying the secrets of innovation rose out of the muddy land one after another. The Youth Innovation and Entrepreneur Hub is an innovation center and entrepreneurship academy attracting a lot of talents. It has incubated 601 innovation teams, over half of them from Hong Kong. Less than 2 kilometers away is the Qianhai Shenzhen Hong Kong International Financial City. 195 financial institutions signed contracts and settled in the city less than a year after it came into operation, providing strong capital support for entrepreneurship and innovation. This small building is vital for the application of innovation achievements. An average of about 500 products are patented here, and more than 6,000 cases concerning patent claims and exploitation are handled here every day. In less than 10 years, Qianhai has rolled out 685 institutional innovation achievements, more than 80 of which have been promoted throughout China. But this is not the only place where innovation is happening. This is the 4 seasons of agriculture, created by tens of thousands of agricultural drones. As they fly above areas from south to north, the light dots created by their flight routes change with the seasons. In September, the light dots start to move towards a particular place. By Yingolin Mongolian Autonomous Prefecture in Xinjiang, at the southern foot of the Tian Shan Mountains, enjoys over 3,000 hours of sunshine annually, making it one of the best places to grow cotton on the planet. In 2021, 2 youngsters born in the 1990s were ready to take on a new challenge with the help of 4 drones and more than 300 sets of intelligent equipment on 200 hectares of experimental cotton field.
2个人呢，3000亩，2个人管3000亩，那不可能。
看看能不能用我们的科技，再给农业带来一些新的变化。
In spring, with the help of high-accuracy navigation and autopilot, unmanned seeders are drawing straight lines of seed on the ground. Soon, cotton seedlings will sprout.
新疆巴州玉梨县遭遇强沙尘天气。
Half of the thriving cotton seedlings have been destroyed by a sudden gale. Thanks to the R&D team's remote support and intelligent machinery, reseeding has been efficiently completed in a short time. Irrigating, monitoring and manuring can all be done using a small tablet computer. The unmanned part of the operation accounts for up to 60% of the time and effort, and the cost per mu of land, that is about 0.06 hectare, has been reduced by several hundred yuan. In the autumn, 700 tons of cotton can be harvested from 200 hectares of field. An entire year's effort turns into the joy of harvest. Nowadays, innovation is pushing China's agriculture towards modernization with tremendous speed and power. In the past 10 years, the country's mechanization rate of ploughing, sowing and harvesting has increased from 57% to 72%. The mechanization rates of rice, corn and wheat has surpassed 85%, 90% and 97% respectively. All this has helped China enjoy bumper harvests for 18 consecutive years. Innovation is also reshaping China's industrial patterns. As night falls, flashing LED lights indicate that production is in full swing in this intelligent factory. More than 200 HD cameras and over 8,000 sensors are collecting real-time production data. By analysing the data, machines identify and diagnose problems in a completely automated process. Now, more than 4 million factories and the National Industrial Internet Big Data Centre have been connected and are exchanging data and gathering information from over 70 million connected devices. Innovation is also attracting unprecedented capital. From 2019, when SSE Star Market began operations, to the first half of 2022, 429 enterprises had been listed on it, and more than 610 billion yuan in funds had been raised. In 2021, the R&D investment of its listed companies reached 10.3% of total revenue. For 10 years, credit availability in manufacturing industry and science and innovation enterprises has continuously increased. The high-level circulation of science and technology, capital and the real economy has come to the fore. Soaring high on wings of innovation, China is continuously breaking new records in more and more fields. The highest 5G base station has been set up on Mount Chomolungma at an altitude of 6,500 meters. Its signals even cover the mountaintop. A manned submersible dives deep down from 7,062 meters to 11,000 meters to explore deep-sea mysteries. Leaving the Earth and Moon behind, the Zhurong Mars rover sped through interplanetary space and made its mark on Mars, 400 million kilometers away. In bustling cities and thriving villages, countless diligent Chinese people are gathering the strength to vigorously move forward, changing both China and the world. A cargo ship has just left the harbour at Guangzhou port, starting its voyage. Relying on the GPS chip on the ship, satellites conduct real-time tracking of its movements at sea. By tracking the locations of 300,000 active ships every day, and by analysing more than 24 million items of shipping lane information, we've noticed changes that have happened in global sea transportation over the past 10 years. The volume of shipping lanes in China's 11 international coastline ports has increased by 60% in the past 10 years. The Sea Transportation Service Network has connected the major ports of more than 100 countries and regions, making China the most connected country in global sea transportation. 8 of the world's top 10 ports are in China. The dense shipping lanes connect China more closely with the rest of the world. Connections on the Eurasian continent are also speeding up. Running along this artery of transportation, which stretches over the Eurasian continent, is the China-Europe Railway Express. Today, on average, 42 trains pass through China and more than 200 European cities every day, bringing new opportunities to the cities along the railway. Duisburg Port in Germany is the biggest hub on the express line, with the broadest route connections, the busiest schedules, and the largest freight volume and cargo value. Not long ago, the China-Europe freight train celebrated its 10,000th trip here. Located at the Ruhr, Germany's old industrial base, Duisburg has witnessed the rise and fall of the coal industry over the past 2 centuries. The city had been struggling to reinvent itself. With the growth of China-Europe railway transportation, Duisburg has rapidly grown into a major European logistics center.
Also es kommen viele unterschiedliche Waren, also von kleinen Täschchen oder Accessoires bis hin zu großen Maschinen. Ich bin froh für die Chance. Ich meine, ich bin 55 und das ist in Deutschland nicht die Regel.
Today, the trend of globalization is meeting resistance, but China chooses to embrace globalization with even stronger determination. Every September, a sea, land and air convoy arrives as scheduled. Helicopters from Germany, bread from Italy, honey from New Zealand and coffee from Vanuatu, set off by ship, by plane and even by train for the same destination, Shanghai. As trade protectionism prevails, China decided to open its door wider to the world in November 2018, establishing a huge platform allowing global commodities to enter China.
So that's about the same as last year, right, roughly? So similar area.
American merchant Owen Messick is preparing for the 5th China International Import Expo. When he applied for his 9-square-meter stall at the first expo, he never expected that it would bring such a favorable turn to the company. In the following expos, the company's stall became larger and larger. Their biggest R&D factory in Asia is now under construction.
We're a small company. As we develop in China, we have a great opportunity, kind of big market.
Opening its market to the world and sharing the dividend of development, China's economy is like a great ocean with hundreds of rivers flowing into it. The first negative list for foreign investment issued in 2013 included 190 regulatory measures. In the following years, that number was reduced and the list was shortened year by year. The latest version only includes 27 measures, which means more than 85% of regulatory measures have been removed from the list. Free trade zones, which serve as experimental platforms for opening up, keep expanding. The number of free trade zones has risen from 1 to 21. They cover less than 0.4% of China's land, but contribute 17.3% of the country's total export-import volume and attract 18.5% of its foreign investment.
We still believe in hope, because there are less old topics. These are recent ones, meaning that the old ones had been resolved. That's actually pretty good.
And that's not all. This year, 11 of China's coastal ports, all of which are international hubs, opened 92 new international trade routes, with 55 of them, around 60%, leading to RCEP member countries. Since the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership came into force, China and the other 14 signatories have built the largest free trade zone in the world. In the past decade, China has signed 19 free trade agreements with 26 countries and regions, with free trade partners in Asia, Africa, South America, Oceania, and Europe. The volume of trade between China and these partners accounts for 35% of the country's total foreign trade volume. China's friendship network has continued to expand, and the way it communicates with its friends has also changed. Again, these are the changes captured by satellites in space. Maputo, the capital of Mozambique, is one of the most important ports in East Africa. The bridge spanning Maputo Bay cuts the time it takes to cross the bay from 2 hours to 10 minutes. It's the largest suspension bridge in Africa and was made in China. The Cauchari Plateau in northern Argentina lies at an altitude of over 4,000 meters. 1.2 million well-arranged solar photovoltaic panels provide power for nearly 100,000 households. This power plant has the largest installed capacity in South America and was also built by the Chinese. In the Laotian capital, Vientiane, a railway station rises from the ground. Starting from here, the China-Laos Railway crosses rivers and tunnels, breaking the shackles imposed on this landlocked country. Facing the major changes unfolding in the world, China has always deemed development an essential global issue. With the Belt and Road Initiative, it's drawing the blueprint for a shared future. Kamonyi district is an hour by car from Kigali, Rwanda. Here, Demas is busy tending a mushroom farm. Since 2012, Chinese agriculture experts have provided training in the cultivation of mushrooms for more than 5,000 local agricultural technicians and farmers. Demas is one of them.
And when I started doing my business, I earned big money. Then I came to buy the plot here and build new houses. My children are studying in a good school.
Today, more than 3,500 Rwandan families are engaged in mushroom cultivation, and their annual income has doubled or even tripled. In over 100 countries and regions around the globe, mushrooms have become the good luck charm that can lift people out of poverty. Through poverty alleviation efforts, including creating new businesses, tourism, and eco-friendly project development, China has lifted nearly 100 million people out of poverty. Now it's sharing its experience with countries and regions facing the same problem. A World Bank report has estimated that by 2030, the Belt and Road Initiative would increase trade in participating countries by between 2.8 and 9.7%, and global trade by between 1.7 and 6.2%. It will lift 7.6 million people around the world out of extreme poverty and 32 million people out of moderate poverty. True partners stand side by side toward a shared future. In the past decade, from the Gobi Desert to high mountains and deep valleys, from the Pamir Plateau to the African continent, China, while taking the development of people as its ultimate goal, has brought great changes to many places and shared the fruit of its own development with the world. The fate of numerous people has been changed. They are now able to head towards a better future with renewed hope.